Well, hello there, YouTube. It's Petey Two Finger, and today it's a sad day for music. We lost Michael Nesmith, and it's also, from what I understand, it appears to be the end of a band. King Crimson is no longer a functioning musical entity. Robert Fripp is 75 years old, as well as a few other members of King Crimson getting up there at golden age, and they are hanging it up. It looks like this last tour really was their last tour. King Crimson is a band who, if you're not familiar with them, they are not the easiest music. It's challenging music to perform, and it's challenging music in some cases for the listener to decode. As I have found King Crimson to be, it takes a couple listens for it to click, but when it does, you're in for a treat. Now, one of the things I have to say, King Crimson is just kind of its own entity. That band is unclassifiable. They're just out there. It's just King Crimson music. And over the years, they've had quite a few different people under that moniker, different people fronting the band. For a while, Adrian Belew was the heart and soul of King Crimson. I mean, he was writing the lyrics, and he was in the role of frontman. He was singing, and that's really the King Crimson music that I come to I don't appreciate the non-Adrian Belew King Crimson as much as the Adrian Belew version of the band. And they had several iterations. It was like they put out these 3 albums in the 80s, which really were huge and creating a completely different type of style. Although there were other bands that played with that African polyrhythms thing that King Crimson excelled at. But they were just at the top of that. Alternative, before it was alternative, King Crimson was, you couldn't touch them. And they were a great studio band, and they also, when they toured, they were just incredible live. Now, they went on a long hiatus, but came back and released more studio albums later on at the end of the 90s and in through the a little bit into the Y2Ks. Eventually, Robert Fripp announced that he was going to be reverting to the old stuff, and he found someone, Jacko Jasek is the guy's name, and they went out and toured. But I think they had 3 drummers. It was like they played all of the old King Crimson, and it was just really highly reviewed by the people who saw it. Hi, honey. And unfortunately, that tour is over. I didn't get to see them. They came around here with the Zappa band opened for them, and I was like, I didn't go. I wish I would have went. Now knowing what I know, that, and like, I don't think this is one of those things like the Kiss farewell concert or the Who farewell concert that was announced in the 80s and they went out like a dozen times. I would think if Robert Fripp says this is the end of King Crimson, then in fact that's what you're going to see, that there is not going to be any more King Crimson. So that's a wonderful, wonderful band. If you have yet to discover their music, you can check that out. Michael Nesmith, R.I.P. Michael Nesmith. If you haven't checked out his stuff, he did a movie called Time Rider, a really neat science fiction movie from the 80s. He did this entertaining, like he invented music videos. There's a thing out there called Elephant Parts, which was a video special. You can check that out. It's worth your time. And if you haven't seen the Monkees movie, which is called Head, now normally psychedelic films are of some of the worst movies you could ever have to sit through, but this Monkees movie, Head, I went into it thinking I was just going to snicker at how bad it was, and I loved it. I've seen it twice since then, There is some underlying themes and some stuff about them kind of being controlled a bit by their label, where they had the ability to play their instruments and write music, but they were, you know, handed song sheets and denied the ability to play the instruments. They had studio guys playing, and they were just told to sing, and different things like that. So there are some kind of under the surface themes in the movie. Had, of course, the Vietnam War, and yes, it is a psychedelic film, but it's just really well done. I enjoyed it. I would give it the highest mark, and I'm not a fan of the television. Well, obviously, I mean, who isn't? You can't say, "Oh, I don't like the Monkees," but I'm not some guy that has the recordings, and I've never seen like all the episodes of the show or anything. But when I watched the Head movie, I was blown away at how good it was, and I'm recommending you check that out. So, R.I.P. to Mike Nesmith, a true American original. He's got an autobiography. Adrian Belew read that book and said, "You really should read this, that there's a lot more to this guy than you would think." He was a brilliant guy. R.I.P. Mike Nesmith. We lost a heavy hitter in the world of rock. And King Crimson. So long to the King. They were just, you couldn't touch them. As far as that next level kind of true alternative type of music, they were the masters at that. And the players in that band, there's some really high pedigree musicianship. And I want to stress that as well. So, sad day for rock. Hug your loved ones, hug your pets, and how can I do this? Is this better? See, then I can't mouse I need to hug your pets and peace.